Hey everyone, Dr. Eric Richards here. I'm going to do another 7-minute podcast for you guys. I just had a chance to talk with a parapro, and one of the things that she talked about, that she mentioned, was basically the quality of teachers that she sees here in the school system in Cherokee County. And I thought, that's a pretty important discussion point to talk about. So she really feels like we've got a high quality, and she's leaving the county because she feels like there's some issues with how administration handles parapros and that whole process. And so whether that be her experience or the experience, that's always the question. But I think, teachers. So I did a controversial interview with a principal who was fired, and I had a number of teachers who told me that they really don't like that teacher. And I said, that's okay. And I hope you voice that opinion along the way. And maybe that'll come out in her public hearing, and that's going to be the reason why she was fired, and there you go. Or maybe not. Maybe it was political. I said, but it doesn't mean that there's not a reason to bring it to light. You have to bring the story to light, because no matter what, the more hidden things are, the more behind closed door things remain, the less transparency that exists, the less light that exists, the easier it is to hide poor behavior, in the corner, in the dark, under the book, under the blanket, whatever it is. You need to bring everything to light, period. And that's always the case in a public institution, public roles, public anything, because the constituents are the ones in charge. The parents are literally the ones in charge, period. That's how it works. When I hear things from individuals saying, parents should have nothing to do with what happens in a classroom. The parents shouldn't be telling schools what to teach. Like, you're freaking nuts, and you have absolutely no role in education, at least not in my county. So hopefully I have a chance to win this, and I can come after you if you say that. But over to the teachers though. But that's so what I thought about when she was saying this was, man, I know so many teachers. I mean, I've adjusted here. We've probably adjusted 100 teachers or more. I've had multiple principals over the years, APs. I mean, we've had people in all sorts of realms. My wife worked in the school system as an occupational therapist, so a contract employee. We're going back 18 years when she left. But worked alongside of parapros and special ed teachers for years. And, I'll say, our general feeling of teachers in Cherokee County is like nothing but top notch. I mean, it's that we really have great teachers here, and I really, whether it be the current people that are administrators who've hired these teachers or ones before, regardless, I feel like there's an incredible core here. And then I also feel like, man, teachers, they have such a tough job, because kindergarten, first grade, second grade, your primary role is to help lead these kids into a place where they desire learning. And then you have to respond to parents. And your parent responses are often behavioral, right? They're some progress scholastically, but that's a smaller piece in those young ages. And there's such a relationship, of course, because parents don't trust their children to know a whole lot about what's going on and to talk and tell them, and so they really rely on a teacher. And it's so there's a crazy awesome, which I like to call sacred relationship between parent and teacher, and that relationship becomes less and less, knitted together, because the emotion comes out of it. The older a child becomes, it becomes more about just straight performance, more about academia. Now, with a troubled child, a parent will hopefully have a good enough relationship with the teacher to say, hey, I'm noticing some things. Have you seen anything in class? Or the teacher, I've seen things in class. I'd like to tell you and see if there's anything that you've seen at home. And that really requires a relationship between the two of them. Like, if you're over here, if you're separated, let's say you've got administration kind of sitting in the middle almost, and you really don't have a relationship with your teachers, it's not very conducive to communication. And then in that, a lack of identification happens, right? So, that's kind of where forced SEL is designed to fit in. And I say forced because I think SEL is a bigger topic of conversation as a whole. Really shouldn't be a curricula, it shouldn't be an agenda, it shouldn't be any of that. It should be the thing that naturally occurs because of relationship that is a trusting relationship from parent to teacher and teacher to child. And then child to parent, they have their relationships. It's a triangle. And in that, I think what truly SEL is trying to achieve actually happens, organically. It just automatically happens versus being forced. So that's what I meant by that. But I believe there's a place for that. Only when there is preservation of that sacred relationship between parent and teacher. And the reason why, when she was talking about teachers, I got so excited about our teachers is I couldn't think of one teacher who I know who I didn't think excelled at relational living. Having deep community within relationship. And what I mean by that is that they're basically low maintenance relationships, meaning they can immediately get in sync with an individual when talking. They know how to read body language and read inflection, and they're just naturally social people. I don't know that I know one teacher that I know. Now, I grant some definitely aren't as much, but that's something to be celebrated. It is something to actually focus on. It's something to hunt and most definitely to preserve, because that is the quality that builds, approachability from, parent, teacher, child, parent, child, teacher, child, parent. Right? It's just everything's just working. So that's my goal is to get to that point. Now, how am I going to get to that point? I'm going to have to strip a bunch of crap out of the lives of teachers to get to that point. There's too much burden on a teacher doing things that don't pertain to that specific role. And I hope you'll take the time to listen to my next 7-minute podcast that goes a little bit deeper on this conversation and talks a little bit more about the confines of the teacher-student relationship and what that looks like. Thanks.